wildlife officers release a relocated bear from a neighborhood back into the wild. For a moment, the bear stops, turns around, and gazes at them. A silent goodbye, before disappearing into the trees. For the first time in 20 years, two chimpanzees, Vanilla and Shake, step into the outdoors. Vanilla looks up, eyes wide in wonder, staring at the endless sky. For the first time, she can gaze freely at the world above. A curious giraffe wanders into civilization, unknowingly stepping into danger. Thanks to quick action, the 2-ton giant is guided back to safety, returning to its true home in the wild. A young lynx, after years in captivity, hesitates at the edge of its new home. It stands still, overwhelmed by freedom, before taking its first cautious steps into the wilderness. A 300-kilogram crocodile, once feared and marked for execution, was given a second chance. Instead of killing it, the villagers chose compassion over fear, releasing it back to its natural habitat. After 3 weeks of intensive care, a tiny monkey is finally ready to go home. The moment it reunites with its family, they embrace tightly, proving that family is everything. 51 desert sheep, once lost to their environment, have been carefully rescued and reintroduced to the wild. For the first time in years, they roam freely across the landscape where they belong. A little orphaned bear cub, weak and alone, spent 8 months in recovery. Now strong and independent, he takes his first steps into the wild, ready to reclaim his place in nature. A group of African penguins once trapped in captivity are now free to roam. Their planned escape is no longer necessary. Nature has welcomed them back. If you're having a bad day, here's an unboxing of pure cuteness. A rescued animal taking its first steps into freedom. A snow leopard, once injured and near death, is finally healed. Without the dedication of volunteers, it might not have survived. Now it's ready to rule the mountains once more. A pair of Mexican wolves are released into a protected area where they can reconnect with their pack, safe from harm. Their wild instincts will now guide them forward. A baby penguin, hesitant at first, stares at the vast ocean ahead. With a final push of courage, he waddles toward the waves, answering the call of adventure. Two eagle owls take flight, leaving their caretakers behind. From this moment on, the sky is theirs to own. A Pacific octopus, once the size of a grain of rice, has grown into a magnificent creature. Now, the Seattle Aquarium is giving it a second chance, a life of true freedom beneath the waves. A man's mission was simple: help a badger return to the wild. But as it turns out, this little guy wasn't making it easy.
One out. There you go.
Mega and Messick, two orphaned bear cubs, were left alone in the world. Thanks to caring rescuers, they are now prepared for an independent life in the forest. Safari workers release two red deer, watching as they joyfully sprint back into the wilderness. Meet Peepa and Po, two rescued animals who have come of age. Today marks the moment they return to the wild, ready to take on the world. Cockatoos can make affectionate pets, but nothing compares to freedom. Just ask George the cockatoo, who finally soars into the sky after years in captivity. A man deeply bonded with the pride of lions must now say goodbye. It's time for them to return to their real family, the wild. Picture this, over 1 million pigeons released at once, transforming the sky into a living, breathing cloud of freedom. After nearly a year of rehabilitation, a green sea turtle is finally ready to return home. With luck, it could live for another 80 years. A 6-ton elephant, once lost, is finally going home. But first, rescuers need to find a rather large taxi to get him there. Havana, a sea creature tangled in plastic, was barely clinging to life. Thanks to compassionate rescuers, she now has a second chance to live in freedom. A mother bear who has known nothing but captivity is finally taking her first steps into the wild, and her cubs are right behind her. Reintroducing a herd of bison into their natural habitat is no simple task. It took more than just opening a gate. A rescuer had to guide them home, step by step. Imagine spending 30 years as a test subject in a lab. That was the reality for these chimpanzees, until today. As they step outside for the first time, their joyful embrace says it all. No animal should ever endure such suffering. A large family of animals has been relocated to a sanctuary with a pool, far from the dangers of the city. Now they can finally live in harmony with nature. A heartwarming rescue, a 5-day-old elephant calf was trapped in a muddy pond, helpless and alone. After a delicate rescue operation, the mother thanks the rescuers in the most touching way. While rescuing some orangutans, something went terribly wrong. A furious male nearly derailed the mission, endangering both apes and humans. Quick thinking saved the day. Transporting a 450-kilogram polar bear home isn't easy. Pilots had to fly low and steady, careful not to wake the bear mid-flight. Thankfully, it only woke up once it was safely back in the wild. An abandoned baby falcon was raised with care, but now it's time to fly. With one last glance back, it spreads its wings and soars into freedom. She thought she'd be trapped behind that kennel door forever, but now she stands frozen in disbelief. Her home, the place she thought she'd never see again, is right in front of her. 12 rescued penguins take their first steps into the sea, finally returning to the life they were meant to live. A rescued elephant seal stops for a moment, turning back to its human saviors as if saying a silent thank you before diving into the ocean. A group of giraffes and antelopes are released into a protected area in South Africa, galloping joyfully into their new home. In Sri Lanka, an elephant transit home has spent years rehabilitating orphaned elephant calves. Now, 9 of them are finally being released back into the jungle where they belong. The team steps back, watching from a distance as a massive grizzly cautiously emerges from its transport crate. Little does the bear know, those humans just helped him find his way home. Hippos may be some of Africa's most dangerous animals, but this one needed help. Rescuers had to tranquilize and transport the grumpy giant before releasing it into a protected area, where it now enjoys the company of a local dame. A group of baby chimps who had never felt the warmth of the sun step outside for the first time. Their excited calls say it all. This is the start of their new life. When his cage was opened, an ocelot took his time, carefully taking in the surroundings. Then, as if suddenly realizing his long-awaited moment had arrived, he sprinted off into the forest. You've seen one or two animals released at a time, but have you ever seen 165 red deer set free at once? It's a sight you won't forget. A rare lynx was nearly sent to a zoo, but wildlife advocates fought for what was right and won. Carried and gently assisted into the ocean, a rescued sea turtle wasted no time. It dove in instantly, ready to reclaim its place in the wild. A bald eagle once trapped behind bars blinks in disbelief as it steps out of its cage. With one powerful flap of its wings, it rises into the sky, finally free. A gray fox doesn't hesitate for a second. The moment his cage door swings open, he bolts into the bushes, disappearing into the wilderness. After years of captivity, 3 bottlenose dolphins are released into the open sea near Indonesia. One of them even swims up to a camera as if saying thank you before diving into the waves. When 4 orangutans were released, 3 adjusted smoothly. But the 4th? Not so much. Frustrated, he flipped over his cage, and even took his anger out on his brother. Eventually, things settled, reminding us that freedom comes with its own challenges. Overwhelmed by the sight of so much greenery, a rescued bobcat takes slow, cautious steps out of its crate before vanishing into the dense forest. For the first time in their lives, these tigers experience what it's like to swim. One of them can't contain its excitement, splashing and playing like a kitten. Each of these stories is a testament to the power of compassion, resilience, and second chances. Every animal released back into the wild is a reminder that freedom is priceless. Which of these moments touched your heart the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring wildlife stories. Because in the end, every creature deserves to be free.